King P here.
And Steelio7, and welcome to the first episode of Season 6.
Amazing. Season 6. On this episode, we have Sam Pamphilon, who is an actor, comedian, and most importantly, a non-gamer.
Yeah, non-gamer. He made a clear point about that as well, although he still had quite a bit of, well, probably a lot more gaming knowledge than you and I, Matt.
Exactly. And importantly, he was a co-creator of a popular Dave TV show called Go 8-Bit, which was all about gaming. So I think he's telling us a few porkies here. So yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to This Week in Metropolis.
Welcome to the first episode of Season 6. It's Season 6, Matt, isn't it?
It is Season 6.
Season 6, wow. How have we got here?
Exactly.
We are joined by comedian, actor, star of Go 8-Bit. Matt, you've got another thing.
What I noticed, coincidentally, before when I was watching TV, star of the more recent Santander adverts as well.
Yeah.
I noticed you lurking.
The last couple of years.
Yeah.
Really?
Been on those, but like in the background, not involved very much, which is kind of what you want from an advert.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
Sam,
people bringing them up on podcasts.
we literally just talked about it before we joined this call. And,
I was sitting watching television with my son, and we was watching You've Been Framed, and it was the more recent one with the VR headset things.
Yeah.
And I just saw sort of a glimpse of your face, and then the headset went off. I said, Ben, I'm going to be talking to him in about 20 minutes. I'm sure that's
that
him.
guy who put a thing on.
yeah, that's it.
Wow. Oh my God.
High
I'm
caliber
so
of
honoured.
guests. Yeah.
Yeah.
he was also in a show called Go 8-Bit. I mean,
He's done some other
but
stuff.
he's also been on this advert.
But the main thing is that advert where he was near Anthem Deck.
But that's I find, and I don't think James necessarily will, because his children are a bit younger, but throughout the series...
How old are yours? Sorry to ask.
mine is 7 and 12.
Okay.
So when sort of we have guests, and often me and James are excited about the guests, because we just do this for fun. And I'll be excitedly saying, oh yeah, we've got blah, blah, blah on the show. We've got Sam on the show. And they'll be like, oh, yeah. But what's he done? I was like, I don't think you actually know anything that you've done. The closest one we had was a guy called Ricky Martin, who's Art Ninja on CBBC, which I don't know through your children you've possibly seen.
Yeah, there might be. They're out of. We haven't got. I'm bringing it around to me already. We can't. We're only streaming at the moment because of where we are in the house, our front room. So we haven't got TV.
Sure.
So, but yes, I think Art Ninja. I remember Art Ninja.
Yeah. But even with that one, it was a great episode. We had great fun talking to him. But sort of the boys wanted to watch it. They started watching it, and about 10 minutes in, my eldest went, "This is just grown-up talk, isn't it?" The one I thought he'd enjoy, I was like, no.
Yeah, it's amazing how even like, despite having had parents, you still manage to have learned no lessons from being a kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, as a dad, you think, I'm going to get this right. I know what's going to excite my kids. Like, hey guys, how about we do this? And your kid's like, no, that's rubbish.
No, it's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I mean, I'm so into football, and my dad really, he's not that bothered about it. And then with my little boy who's 4, I really want him to be into football, but he's like, Dad, I'd much rather be a superhero.
Communicate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that I completely get that. But once again, Sam, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
It's nice to be here.
You know, the reason why we've got you on here is because you're a gaming expert.
That was it. Yeah. That's what I want my legacy to be.
So
the whole point of the show, although it kind of got edited out, was like the idea is that Steve is into games and Sam isn't, and it's a battle between someone who's like basically saying you've wasted your life being into games because I can do it as well as you, and that kind of that didn't translate. So people were like, hey, so what the games you're really into now? You're like, I don't know, Golden Axe 25 years ago.
Which actually bring it. One thing I've been dying to say to you. We watched it. We watched a few things often in preparation for having the guests on. And there was an interview you did with, it was a Guildford Gaming something or other.
Yeah, that was recently, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned Operation Wolf on there, which I loved. And until I heard you saying, oh my God, I loved that game. And I remember being on holiday at a seaside and just, on the arcade.
Yeah.
Exactly, incredible. Absolutely
the feel of a gun rattling in your hands.
Yeah.
And the graphics being like, for the time, they were mind-blowing. There was tanks, and it had that grenade button on the side.
That's it.
And you would put like probably 50p in, or maybe £1, which is a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
If you're anything like my age.
Yeah.
And you would press that button, and you'd use all your grenades, and you're like, I'm such an arsehole! Like, do you know how much money this cost? It's like a down payment on a car.
I loved it. That's
But
fond memories.
Like, there you are making jokes about like not being able to talk about games, but the thing is, like, when I got a Master System, which is like one of the really early generation consoles. It was like my first console, and there was Operation Wolf on it, and you got a light gun. I still don't know how it worked. You pointed it at a really shit kind of 14-inch black and white telly.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the game
knew what you was doing. Exactly.
And I still don't know how that works.
No, I don't either.
Because it didn't have like
idea.
like a gyro thing in it. It didn't know where the gun was pointing. It had a lead, but somehow when you shot it at the TV communicated with the mark. I don't know how that works. And
they don't work. No, those old consoles don't work with modern TVs. So it's got to be something to do with the CRT displays or whatever.
You got close to the old telly. It's like the ones with what they call the
cathode ray tube.
Cathode ray, yeah. And you got really close, and before the static made you go, you got really close, and it had all these bars going, which were essentially the pixels, I guess.
It must be coordinates or something that the gun works on, but how it talks to it. Yeah, that's it, exactly. No idea.
I mean, the funny thing is, you two are talking about this, and my first game like that would have been Duck Hunt, which was nothing like what this sounds like.
But that's the same era.
The same thing. Yeah, you shot the gun on the TV, and the TV knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't as cool, though, by the sounds as the game.
No, not as cool as shooting soldiers and blood.
But that was the Nintendo thing. Nintendo kind of had the cutesy
soft
kind of, and whereas the Master System was
edgy.
Really edgy. So fucking edgy.
No, but that was the whole thing. I remember watching something. I think it was actually Ellie Gibson, who was obviously on Go 8-Bit with. She was doing one chatting about the same thing and saying how I think she was more Sega than she was Nintendo, and how Sonic was the cool character. You know, Mario was a fat plumber. And I mean. Yeah, I liked the Fat Plumber.
I was a Nintendo boy completely. I absolutely loved the games.
I got a Mega Drive first because of Sonic.
Yeah.
Playing Sonic, I can still remember, in the same way I can remember when the Twin Towers came down, where I was when Princess Diana died. I can still remember playing Sonic for the first time and it loading up on my parents' telly.
Wow.
And just being like, oh my
God.
But
the speed of it.
As they said Street Fighter 2 was coming out on the Super Nintendo, I was like,
see, we can now be friends.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Street Fighter 2 on the arcade. No, I've talked about this many a time. And having a Super Nintendo at the time, hearing that Street Fighter 2 was coming out, that was just mind-blowing. The thought of, I can have this thing that I love here.
The arcades were like a destination place, like it was hallowed ground.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't skip school. Maybe it was the weekend. I was quite a goody two shoes in a lot of ways. But I had a friend called Tat, who is that's my kids.
It's fine.
My wonderful partner Dorothea, who's taken them to bed this evening and does so many sessions. Just putting that out in case she listens. Excuse me. But I met Tat, and Tat was a bit dangerous. Like he smoked. Like we were like 13, 14. He smoked. He got in trouble. He got in fights and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was hard. Like at school, he was a hard kid. I did not have fights. I was terrified. It was quite cool to hang around with Tat because I felt protected.
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you want to come out with me to go to the arcade in Broadmead, in Bristol?" And we went down there, and he just pulled out what I think was probably about 25 quid, which is basically like someone goes to a bar and pulling out a grand and going,
yeah.
"What do you want?" And we spent 25 quid playing, so this is like 1993, 94, playing Street Fighter 2. Mainly him playing Street Fighter 2, and he was good at it. And I was shit at it because I'd never really played it in the arcades. Because every time I played in the arcades, I just got my ass kicked. And it turned out, I think, I don't know that this is the story, but my brother was at the same school. I think basically his dad had left.
Yeah.
And had left them some money, and that was the money.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Which is so dark, but still, we had a really, really...
You had a great day.
well, Matt actually has Street Fighter 2 arcade machine in his house.
I do, yeah.
And
you've earned too much money. That's what's happened.
What it was...
Too much money in your...
What it was, when I became 30, my wife said to me, "It's your 30th birthday, what do you want? You know, what's the thing that would mean to you the most?" And instantly, Street Fighter 2, I want that.
And then she said, no, what do you really want?
It costs...
a bigger car, right?
This...
New carpets?
Windows.
Patience with the children? What is it you really want? You want a drink list, don't you?
It only cost £150 at the time. Yeah, this was 12 years ago. So this at that time, arcades weren't that exactly. It wasn't that cool to have arcade machines sort of 12 years ago. It doesn't seem long
like
now everyone wants one in a man cave and so on.
Yeah, but, they're never going to play.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I've got Space Invaders in here. Did you play it?
And 3,000 other games. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
have that and a Nirvana t-shirt.
Yeah, that's it. But it was a guy, he was, funnily enough, it was a similar thing to what you just said, is that there was a guy that had this double garage full of arcade machines, front to back. There must be about 30 of them in there. And we drove there and sort of picked up the Street Fighter one. But he had to sell all of his arcade machines because his wife wanted an extension on his house. So, yeah. I mean, he probably made a lot of money because of how many there were, but... Yeah,
they always get their way.
It was heaven, though. Walking in there and thinking, "Oh God, I've always wanted." Oh my God, look, he's got. He had an afterburner, like one of those.
360.
Yeah, he had one of those.
Do you know what? We tried to get one of those for 8-bit.
Really?
And we could not find one in the country.
No. That's the thing.
Do you know? It's one of my suggestions I made to production was like, what if we had 2 of the afterburner G-Lock 360s.
That was it, yeah.
Which I never got to go on, but was my dream because I loved afterburner.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find one.
No. I think with arcade machines,
it was so primitive.
Yeah, it went through such a phase of them being unfashionable. I think a lot of them just went to ruin. I mean, my one isn't pristine, and I like that. You know, it's got the dents in it. It shows that it's
bag marks.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, you can tell it's been loved in an arcade somewhere, and there's a lot of history to it. And yeah, that's how I want it. It's true.
Who's your character that you play with?
Ryu. Is almost
most of the people who are actually really, really good at it play with Ryu.
Yeah, I want some really good.
We had the World Street Fighter champion. I forget his name off the top of my head. He came on. We had to film a non-broadcast thing for the Dave. So we went to this theatre and they built a set, and then we did a version of the show which was not the show at all.
Yeah.
It's completely different, just to show the channel. It cost like 30 grand. And the producers come along and go, no. And you go, all right.
Thanks.
We could have written it down.
Yeah.
But everyone enjoyed the free bar, and he came along. Oh, what's his name? Anyway, he is incredible at it.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrifying. He travels the world and just plays Street Fighter and Tekken and stuff.
It's insane. That's the life, isn't it?
So when did you? I mean, it's clear that, like you said, out of you and Steve, you were the non-gamer.
Yeah.
When did you kind of phase out of gaming?
Super Nintendo was my
Really?
last console for what must have been about nearly 10 years.
Mm.
And then I got a PlayStation 2 because I'd heard about Vice City.
It's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
And that was like a Sonic moment again. I mean, I don't remember it because I was of an age where I don't remember anything. But Vice City was like, oh, this is what I dreamt games could be.
Yeah. That was exactly my experience of it.
Imagine if you could do kind of what you wanted.
Yeah.
Like that.
It was.
Yeah. But of course, I'm sure if you played Vice City now, you'd be kind of surprised by how small it is.
Yeah. That's it, because it's just a couple of islands, when you think about it. And the actual movement of the characters, you can't jump, you can't climb. And, maybe you can jump, but I don't think you can climb and things like that. It's quite restricted. But it's weird. There are certain things, with Vice City, it was that immersive experience I found with it. And there are some songs, I'm sure I've said this before.
Exactly this.
Exactly.
It was the radio.
There are some songs I know because of Vice City, like Mr. Broken Wings, driving around at night listening to that.
My favourite songs now. Brian Ferry, Roxy Music.
Oh, Avalon, wasn't it? Oh, More Than This, that was it on there. Yeah.
I think I was like, that's the most beautiful. I used to just drive around and listen to it.
Yeah. It's insane, isn't it? Yeah. And
that absolutely incredible.
And that really shows you what I think it was that turning point as well, in a way, for games, that they were starting to become a credible medium into like parallel to films, like storytelling in Vice City and things like that, and all of the Rockstar games is fantastic. But
I mean, the last is it GTA 5 made more money than any film's ever going to.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I know all this from, having sort of knowing Steve and working on the show. And that kind of got me back into games. I mean, I just finished I can't believe we're actually talking about games. And I messaged you and said, look, if you want me to talk about games, I just need to let you know that I don't really know anything about games.
But I think you lied.
Game expert. But I was looking for a game to play, and I love robots.
Yeah.
Big robots. I always used to draw, I used to love Transformers. I loved the way their legs looked, the way they were pieced together. So I always liked the idea of mechs. Never got into it. Like, I don't watch Japanese porn or anything. Like hentai or something like that. I'm not that into the whole manga business. But I played Titanfall 2.
Sure.
Right.
Great.
I've never played it.
I've got
really good.
Friends who have played it and rave about it.
Yeah, it's just being in a robot and then not being in a robot really shows you the difference between being in a robot and not being in a robot, which is the difference you'd really want to exaggerate.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a robot. You really want to feel the difference. Like, don't put your coat on until you get outside. So you feel it. Same, if you're going to be in a robot, also experience being out of a robot.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I wish I was in a robot. Okay.
That's actually a good lead actually for a question I had for you, which is, at the end of 8-bit, you always done the big game where you would kind of almost, it would be modded, so you were kind of physically involved in it some way.
It got less and less interesting as the series went on.
Why do you think? What was the reason?
Got become more difficult a bit, I guess.
Was running out of ideas, so. And also, we couldn't get clips. So the idea is that we thought, or production thought, can't remember which. Look, if we want to play Grand Theft Auto on the TV, like, Rockstar are just going to go, yeah, man, we'd love the publicity. Do you know what? They don't need TV, so they would just no.
That's funny though. Why?
Went no, and everyone went no. Which is why sometimes you'd have a celebrity come on and they'd say, my favourite game is Crossy Road. And then they'd be shit. Oh, sorry. They'd come on and say Crossy Road. And then they'd be, I'm giving you an edit point there. so sorry if you have to edit this.
That's fine. It's not a problem.
And then they would play it, and everyone on Twitter would be like, they've never played this game before. And you go, well, they have, but it was 5 minutes before that was recorded.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get clearance.
Yeah.
It's so surprising that would be the case.
Steve, who, my comedy partner, who was sort of the main creative force on the show, he had relationships with people. So he and a guy that we employed to get clearance probably could have gotten these clearances, but production kind of effed it up so much.
Right.
We didn't get Nintendo till the last series. So we could have gotten it in the first series, but the whole thing was just such a mess. It's amazing it ever made it to screen, to be honest with you.
I think it's one of those. Is it one of those things though that if you from your insider perspective, you saw it and there were things that you thought, and that would have been so much better, but to the viewer, they don't know any different. So you're enjoying it. Like James said, the end games were amazing to anyone viewing it. Yeah.
For me, yes, I enjoyed it. But the thing is, Steve, the gamer, the guy who's thought this through, he was like, we could do some really interesting things. We can get these games. And then realises that we can't get these games. It's been mishandled. So for me, I'm like, I'm not involved in the production at all. I don't care. As long as someone else, I don't get it. Like, I did the show live with Steve for years.
Yeah.
On your stand-up.
I never ever understood what the show structure was until I read it on Wikipedia.
That's insane.
I'm so divorced from it. Like, I just know that, because in our double act relationship, Steve is the guy that's in charge and I'm the liability.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you kind of have that as a double act thing, you slowly become it more.
Sure.
And so I became like the guy that was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but just point me and I'll do the stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuff is, which you wouldn't have seen on the show because there was no room in the structure for me and Steve to be on the show. What they did is they kind of relented and allowed us to be team captains. We're not names, they let us be team captains. But the idea was it goes from Dara, the guest.
Yeah.
Guest banter. Well, we're paying them $5,000, or 10 grand or whatever. So let's talk to them. Then we've got to go to Ellie to describe the game we're playing. And then it's back to Dara. Then we played the game. And then we want to wrap up, but we want to talk to the guest.
Yeah.
Actually, in that time, there was never any room made for me and Steve. So we would have shows where we would walk off afterwards and be like, God, that was great. I can't believe it. There was the first series we did in Wembley.
Wow.
Not Wembley Stadium.
I was going to say.
It kind of didn't look like it.
10,000 people watching. Yeah.
Wow, I mean, you're saying it went well, but for 10,000 people, that wasn't much of a
No, it's not a good turnout.
There were studios in Wembley where they used to do like X Factor stuff, and they were brilliant, and people would go to those studios. But then series 2 and 3, we moved to Elstree, and no one's going to go to Elstree. And we did a show once, and I think it was like 20 people in the audience.
Wow.
And they have to make it like it's a massive show.
Yeah. That's mad.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, and this all stemmed from your stand-up thing where you used to, from Edinburgh, wasn't it? And you used to get different
double act.
Yeah.
So we were always together, and the idea is that we were going to go up and do. We'd done our third show at Edinburgh, and it had gone well for us, and we were long listed for the main award, but no one announces the long list. You just find out through your PR. And our PR was a horrible person, and she was almost sad telling us it. Like, how did they get long listed? You're like, okay, thank you very much. Here's your £2,000. And so we could have got up for a fourth year. The idea of going like, okay, well that will be our year. And then we got really busy doing other stuff, and we had to do some writing for something else that never worked. And then halfway through, like, we realised we didn't have any material. We had a space up there in Edinburgh to do the show. I'm burping because you've made me drink.
Sorry.
But it's February, so that's fine.
Well, do you know what? Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly falling off the wagon, am I? It's not dry February, is it? Who said that? Shut up, you idiots! Not about it. But Stephen had this idea. It's like, how about if we go up and do this show? We do our show, but in the evenings, we do this thing where we just plug a Nintendo Wii into like a projector, and we just get like comedians late night, get them to play each other on video games, and that'll be a good fun. And then it got to this point, and I sort of said to Steve, like, Steve, we haven't got any material for our main show. I don't think we should do it. And he's like, yeah, okay. He had an idea, and it was literally this: a sketch about paint. And no matter how many times he explained it to me, I still to this day think that was it. That was the whole idea. That's it. Paint sometimes has funny names.
Does it?
It's like a 5-year-old told you that. Paint has funny names. Like, right, paint has funny names. I'm not going to spend 10 grand going to Edinburgh with that idea. So we cancelled the Edinburgh show, and he said, well, do you think we should take what about the other idea, the video game thing? I said, well, he said, we'll just go up for a couple of weekends. I thought, do you know what? That'd be nice. We can go up and still have a bit of an Edinburgh experience.
Yeah.
Then, as, Sod's Law works, we did that. Completely ramshackle. Idiotic, drunken, and it sold out.
Amazing. And that was that instantly sort of, well, not instantly, but very quickly people bought into the idea of I want to watch that, or was it more of a organic? A few people saw it, and then it's of other comedians wanted in, and that.
We only did 4. I think we only did 4 days. The whole of Edinburgh, or 6 maybe, the weekend. 4. Steve knows. He'll listen to this maybe, and he'll be like getting so cross and getting everything wrong. Getting the comedians for it wasn't so much of a problem because we'd been up there, we knew everybody, and people are always happy to kind of like, what do I have to do? Like, go and play Mario Kart drunk, and then like another 60 people see me, and they're like, oh, we should go see Josh Whittaker's show, or whatever it is. Like, that's fine. They don't mind doing that. But yeah, it went really well, and straight away our friend Rohan, who had directed, he's a really good director and producer. He's working at his production company, and he says, I think I'm going to talk to my production company and try and take it on and try and sell it to telly. Which was sort of a long old slog, but
you got there.
2.5 years later, so I sort of do this part-time work. Well, I say it's part-time, it's like resting job. Like actors, everyone else calls it a job, but actors get to call it a resting job.
Right.
Like, imagine if playing Street Fighter on your Street Fighter arcade thing, if you just kind of went, oh, that's my job. But recruitment, no, that's my resting job.
That's my resting job. Yeah.
So I was working at the job, and we basically, Steve and I had talked to each other, and it had been going backwards and forth with UK TV for so long. They said, they can't host it. Steve and Sam can't host it. And we're like, fine, we get it. And they said,
was that because you were less recognisable?
Totally unrecognisable.
Sure.
Like, no, unless you'd watched a particular episode of Holby City, or something here or there, the chances of you recognising us are very slim unless you know the live sketch comedy circuit, which you probably don't.
Yeah.
So when they said, look, we think we need a name host, we're like, absolutely, of course. And then the main guy said it has to be Dara O'Brien. We're like, all right, that narrows it down.
And what was the thinking behind that? I was going to say, what was the...
Well, I mean, the actual thinking behind this is Steve North, I think it is, who is one of the main controllers of Dave, UK TV, one of the head honchos. So, they'd had a Dara O'Brien show about, I don't know, maths. Oh, Dara O'Brien's School of Hard Maths.
Yeah. I think I remember.
They cancelled it. And I think, again, this is all just hearsay, but like pretty close to probably true hearsay.
Yeah.
I imagine. is that he was like, well, screw you guys, I'm not working with you ever again.
Yeah.
And they were like, we want Dara back on our channel, at least open to do stuff on our channel. So they used our show, basically going, well, Dara likes video games. He hosts the video game BAFTAs every year. If we're going to get Dara back, it's this one.
Yeah.
So they basically put all the onus on us to make it be Dara. Rohan, being brilliant, met with Dara, and what happened was Dara came along to see a live version of the show, and for that live version of the show, we did it in Hammersmith, a place we'd never been to, and we sort of basically said we need to get really good guests like to show Dara. And I'd worked with Russell Howard on like a sitcom film, a Christmas film he did called Gert Lush Christmas, and I sort of said, could you be like one of the guests on it? There's no way I would have asked him to be a guest in the pub in North London where we usually do live show. But it's like, I know that he knows Dara, so that he can talk afterwards. You know, and we got Susan Cowman, who ended up doing the show as well straight away. And Dara saw the show and basically said, all right, I'm in. And that got the show greenlit.
Fantastic.
And sorry, Matt, I was just going to say, for me, I mean, I grew up watching Games Master.
You didn't.
But
everyone's like,
but this is the thing, like, but I don't think there'd been a decent gaming show. No. And although the concepts of the two are very different, obviously one's more of a game show, one was a reviewing of games. But
yeah, I mean,
for me, it was the thing is, a lot of the games that were probably in Games Master made an appearance on your show as well.
Yeah, they're the only ones we could get.
There is something.
We got some dodgy games. Like, you're like, would they choose to do this game? No, we did not choose to do this game.
We had no
that
choice.
was what, like, someone went, oh, you can play this weird game about pyramids and arrows. And you're like, oh, God. But what if it's played on a massive joystick? And you're like, we're running out of ideas here, guys.
The ongoing joke in my life is that one of my favourite games is Football Manager, and I remember the episode that Josh Widdicombe was on.
Oh God, yeah.
And literally, I remember Dara saying it. I'm sure you guys did as well. It was like, "Have we got to watch all of this game?" And then Dara was like, "No, it's just the highlights or whatever it was." and literally, like, Josh was obviously well into it because he's a big football fan.
No idea how long that section took to film.
I do, probably, because I play it a lot.
How many hours, James, did you play last year? Wasn't it like an obscene?
Something ridiculous. I've probably spent, probably a third of my life.
Because we said I think Ellie did a fact about Football Manager. Like, it's been, like, people who play it, it's terrifying. Like, how people, I would never play it because I'm scared of just like coming downstairs and my kids being like, dead skeleton things.
Just laying there.
And me being like, oh, she's going to be so mad. Not again. But I used to play Soccer Boss on like the Amstrad, which was exactly Football Manager, but just done with writing. And it was thrilling.
Really? I just don't get it. I'm not a football fan at all. And I always mock James and say it's like doing an Excel spreadsheet, basically Football Manager, which is how I interpret it, not being a football fan.
But it's the control, right?
Yeah, obviously. I like, just being in that moment, my team's, about to lift the Champions League. It helps when I'm a Man United fan, so I'm obviously going to win a lot. But anyway, we digress. Going back to the big game at the end, if you could actually be in any game throughout time, what would it be?
Vice City.
Vice City?
To be in, to allow my amoral, disgusting, turquoise suit wearing... to just let all the badness come out.
Yeah.
And it within the confines of the game is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like I'm kind of admitting to something terrible.
Well, not really. Because what's that? God, it escapes my mind right now. Matt, what's that program that I watched on Sky Atlantic? The one that's like a remake.
Westworld.
Westworld. It's like Westworld in a way. Like you can go. You have a choice. If you've watched it.
Yeah. I watched the beginning. I'm not seeing it through, but it's the. Do you remember Pinocchio? Hey, have you guys ever heard of something called Pinocchio? There's a really weird bit in Pinocchio where they get shipped off to this island where the kids can do whatever they want.
They'll turn to donkeys, isn't it? When
they're at the end, yeah. But as a kid, I remember this visceral feeling of wanting to be on that island.
Yeah.
Like where you could just smash stuff and do whatever you want
and get away with it.
To do all the worst things that you want to do and there's no consequence. Of course there is a consequence, you turn into a donkey, but I didn't know that. So I think Vice City as my kind of grown-up version of that Pinocchio Donkey Island thing.
Yeah.
What, we're talking about films. What sort of films are you into? Do you like superhero films? Are you into all the Marvel stuff, or is that...
Yeah, I watch them and I enjoy them. But, yeah, no, I watch them and I enjoy them. They're really good.
I think that's the important thing with those films, though, is that they brought... Disney now make thoroughly entertaining, or Marvel make thoroughly entertaining action films that just happen to have superheroes in, if you know what I mean. It's not that you have to be so heavily invested in the arc of the story or whatever. It's like, oh, there's Iron Man, he's blowing stuff up, and it's quite cool. And that's, you know, all you have to take from it, which I quite like with a lot of those. They
also made concessions to non-believer logic.
Yeah.
So if you're a comic book fan, you'll be like, yeah, Iron Man, of course Iron Man, or yeah, Thor, of course Thor.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else will be like, guy in iron suit and a Norse god, what? Yeah. So they at least give you enough that you can, with the creation of the universe, that you can hang your logic on it and go, all right, I can suspend, this is enough for me to enjoy it. You know?
No, definitely.
You know, I mean, I'm sure all of the original logic was in the original comics, but they don't patronise.
Yep.
They don't sort of say, okay, this is how superheroes work. They go with it, but they also allow there to be, like, anyone can enjoy it and no one feels patronised. And even the kind of people who are really into comics and stuff don't seem to bitch.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And it's funny, I was reading an article yesterday about WandaVision, which is now on Disney.
Yeah.
As of recording, that was released last Friday.
Ages ago.
Ages ago.
Way before February, man.
That's it.
Well, I wouldn't be necking a Star Prime when it was January.
It's probably finished by now.
Yes.
You've had too much to drink because it's February.
Yeah,
you get your dates wrong.
God, it's lockdown. I have no idea. But there was an article on that with kind of Easter eggs that have been planted in the show for comic book fans to go, I noticed that, or certain numbers on things that might relate to an article or something like that. I mean, it's very clever, and I'm pleased that it's not too, like you say, critiqued by comic book fans, because
I think they worked really hard at, you know, they had to please them. I think so many superhero movies probably haven't. I don't really know how anyone could watch any Superman movie and go, that's Superman.
Yeah.
Aren't they all shit? Rubbish? I mean, they're all... I don't know, maybe the Christopher Reeve ones were okay.
Yeah. I loved those growing up. I think they were definitely something I enjoyed. But I'll be honest, I haven't watched those ones in recent years. I did read, I really need to watch it. I think it's Superman 4. Because that was made on such a small budget and it wasn't sort of heavily supported. At the end, the bit that they film, and I think it's meant to be, I don't know, some like Secret Service headquarters or something. It's the train station in Milton Keynes. Apparently, if you know where I mean, where it's sort of the single-story building,
Central.
and the little sort of paved bit in the middle. They actually They filmed there. Yeah, because they had so little money.
Steve lives in Milton Keynes. I think he's told me that before.
Yeah, amazing.
John Cryer from 2.5 Men was in it near the end of his career. I think he was about 10 at the time.
Wow.
Although Gene Hackman was in the other ones, of course, and actually those bits were quite funny.
Yeah, and Richard Pryor.
It was very kitsch. It was not kitsch. It was very kind of. Superman films were a bit like the early Batman films.
Yeah, slightly camp.
Watching back, you kind of like. Yeah. It feels like they're taking it's the modern Marvel movies don't feel like they're kind of being wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
No.
Whereas before, They were like, okay, I know this is ridiculous. There's a guy in a bat suit.
Yeah.
But we're going to get away with this by kind of being like,
Yeah, that's it. We know it's
and
silly.
actually and now you watch the kind of the more grown up ones, like from the Chris Nolan Batman's,
the Dark Knight series,
Marvel films. You kind of go, oh right, actually these work.
Yes. I think the Dark Knight trilogy was what set it all off. I think that was 2008 maybe.
Because it works. People are like, all right, we don't have to appeal to other people. We don't have to joke away the fact that he's dressed as a bat. We don't have to joke away the fact this guy's big and green.
Yeah.
People are going to go for it. And
let's just make a good film. What is your favourite film or favourite films as such?
It's not very fashionable right now. I grew up watching a comedy that my dad showed me. So I loved Fawlty Towers, and my favourite, and Woody Allen films.
Yeah.
So the early Woody Allen films like Love and Death, Annie Hall, Manhattan, Bananas, Take the Money and Run. I just think just the comedy is so good. I love those films.
Is that something you think inspired you to pursue comedy later in life?
I think, and this is, probably about, 200, 300 quid's worth of therapy, but it's probably because it became so important for me to be funny.
Yeah.
Because my dad showed me comedy, and I don't feel like he ever laughed at anything I said when I was young.
Sure.
Because, my kids tell me jokes, and they do this. They go, why did and they're doing it on the spot. Why did the frog eat the glass? And you're like, I don't know. And like, no, you have to say, why did the frog eat the glass? Okay, why did the frog eat the glass? Because he's an idiot. And you're like, oh, and you're like, that's great. But I'm sure even with them, they're thinking, that's not a real laugh.
They all go through that phase. I remember my boys, they'd be like, why did the dog cross the road? Because it was a cow, and then you have to laugh.
That's better than I'm getting here.
It's makes no sense.
I've just turned 35 and I'm still telling jokes like that.
Yeah,
that's the problem. The delivery is always off.
James just wrote those down.
He's in the chat for you. But yeah, I suppose it was like, and I had an older brother. He's a half brother, half brother. He's my brother. He's 10 years older than me, so I remember him being 16 at home and kind of going blah, 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 in his deep, dangly, bald voice, and my dad going, and me going, that's a real laugh.
Yeah.
And me saying something, my dad kind of being like, that's cute. And you're like, no. So when I finally started to make my dad laugh, it was, I always used to make my dad sandwiches because he liked sandwiches, and I went on to become a chef. So my dad liked sandwiches, and I wanted to feed my dad
and make him laugh.
And I became a chef and a comedian.
Wonderful.
And am I right in thinking you're working on, or was working on prior to lockdown and everything, to do more Edinburgh gigs and things like that, but on your own, or? Yeah,
no, I did. I wrote, the idea was to do a stand-up show for Edinburgh, and I got the place, and I was going to do the Free Fringe, and was ready to go. Essentially, I just done my first hour in Leicester at Leicester Comedy Festival, and it had gone well, and it was a home crowd. The good thing about having done Go 8-Bit is there's a really loyal core of people who really loved it. And if I were to do a gig in London, a lot of them come. And that's amazing. So it went quite well because they're lovely. But I felt pretty confident about it, and then all this happened, and I was kind of relieved, I suppose, in a way. I didn't have to go and do it, but lost a lot of money because you put the deposit down on the flat, and they're like, oh, we can't return the deposit. You put the money down on that, and they're like, I'm sorry about that money that you gave us for nothing, but we have to keep it because of the law, apparently, or some law that we've invented.
Okay.
Rubbish.
But I don't know if I'm going to do next year, because I'm a bit worried that this year, I'm not sure this year will happen. I think it's too soon. I think people are still going to be. And the room I was going to be in is the size of my bedroom, and it would have 50 people in it.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It's not going to be allowed.
I think that would beat the vaccine. That many drunk people under 40 just super spreading directly at me.
Yeah.
I mean,
just put a big screen up.
Yeah. I did the whole thing in like a wetsuit and just like full scuba gear.
Yeah. What have you during lockdown? What have you binge watched? What's been your favourite thing? Have you binge watched? You might not have.
Yeah. Starting to get into TV more. Well, Dry January was good because if you can't drink, if you drink and you watch your TV, you're like, oh, fine, I'll fall asleep now.
Yeah.
But if you're sober, you're like, I'm really going to watch this. Watch Raised by Wolves.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Exec by Ridley Scott.
Wow.
It's a very Ridley Scott thing.
Yeah.
2 androids, mother and father, are sent away from an Earth that is on the precipice of disaster extinction. And they land with embryos on a barren planet, essentially, an empty planet. What they think is an empty planet. It's dark, it's really moody, it's really good.
I've seen that advertised, yeah. It did look good from the trailers.
I won't ruin it, but the ending is a bit like, what?
No.
But they're all dead.
No, the ending is literally like, come on. One of those, like you've stayed with something that's been really slow moving.
Yeah.
And like,
as long as it keeps you there that you want more of it, I'm happy with that.
At the end, it just kind of shoots its load and goes, ba-bam! You're like, that's rubbish!
I watched the Midnight Sky. I was telling Matt this the other day. I watched the Midnight Sky Netflix movie. George Clooney. Yeah. And I won't.
And that's the one where they're trying to contact people.
Yeah. There's a story in there, and you can kind of see the things aligning that's going to come. And then at the end, you were just like, oh. And I hate it when I'm watching something, and at the end you just go, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That's how I felt after that.
It's very much the male orgasm of a show. Really? Why do I bother?
Sudden and accidental. Yeah.
Matt, you've been watching Sopranos.
What's the point of life?
So that's been my lockdown thing. Was
second time or first time?
First time, and I watched it straight to the first episode right through. Yeah.
To fill you in here, Sam, a friend of the show came on. He labelled Tony Soprano as his all-time favourite hero and villain. Both.
That's a good question that you asked.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, how you got that answer? That's a good question.
Yeah.
And villains.
Well, no. Yeah. We actually wanted to know the two.
I wish
separate.
we could take credit for that. Yeah.
Okay.
One question.
So you asked a really basic question.
Really basic, and he
great answer.
merged
that's
it.
The one.
But having neither of us had seen Sopranos, so we didn't really have any sort of understanding of why Tony Soprano was that kind of character.
He's really good at. What I found though is I found I was become so invested in the characters, but there was such a big cast of characters that I think season 1 to 4 for me was amazing, absolutely amazing. I couldn't get enough. I was just watching more, but I felt after that it was drifting a little bit, and I felt it got a little bit lazy in the sense. Well, not really lazy. I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit. Because there are so many. Well, no, because there are so many characters. There'd be a character you had.
There's a lot of meandering to do.
Yeah, there would be a character you hadn't seen for a couple of episodes, let's say, and all of a sudden something would happen to that character, and then there's a guy. One of the people in the family had. I think his father had died, and he came into money, and he said to Tony that I want out now. I've had enough of this. I want out. And I think he had problems with his kids, and he just wanted to move away. And so the episode started with that. And then Tony had said, "No, you're not. You signed your oath, and that's it. You're in," and sort of brushed him off on that. And then that caused problems with his family. And then he hung himself. And that was in the space of like half an hour. And you're just like, oh, well, I get you have to.
It almost feels like they were like, that was a whole storyline. They went, you've got too much.
Yeah.
How about he hangs himself?
Yeah, that's it. It was just the start for it. Oh, right. So that's done. Now,
episode where like 8 people hung themselves. They had really good stories. They all hung themselves.
But,
and at the end, he's like,
and that's how it started to feel that, oh, right, well, that character's a problem. Yeah, and they'll just kill him at some point.
But how the writers do a job like that, I mean, it blows my mind.
It's incredible.
Like, it's such a tapestry of stuff.
Yeah.
It makes me feel physically sick, the idea of having to write something that complicated.
Yeah, because and I remember trying to explain, I don't think it was necessarily with you, James, but sort of trying to, I'd see a really good episode.
To your youngest.
And talking to Leo, age 7, about what Tony had just done.
And he hung himself.
and Leo's like, I don't know, he's like a hero and a villain. Like, I shouldn't.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
You're watching the next one with me.
If anyone asks, say I asked you.
But yeah, I was trying to explain it to people. I'd like watch an episode and think, oh God, this episode, it was so good. But then I'd find myself, oh, but this guy and this guy's done that and they've done this, but that affects this person because this is how, and it's just so complicated. If you're not watching
it's like emotional Sudoku. It's like you can't just stick anything anywhere.
No, exactly.
There are ramifications.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Writing is horrible.
But,
it takes a special sort of person to be able to do it. It's disgustingly horrible.
Well,
ideas are great. Hey, what about this?
Let someone else write them.
Make it work. Can't.
Well, speaking of someone else writing them, we've got a returning segment now.
All right.
Question mark.
Question mark. Hi gents, thanks for having me back on. I've got a really simple and quick question today. It's based on my viewing of Wonder Woman 1984, which I watched just recently at an extortionate price from a well-known online retailer. And I wanted to ask, please, and I think Mr. James Steele will like this question, I'd like to know, please, your favourite female character. So that can be female character from a film, TV show, comic book. Yeah, so your favourite female character. Thank you.
So, Mark's question, who is your favourite female character? So it can be from a game, can be from a movie, can be from a TV show. This is really tough for me because
well, you've heard the
I don't like women. No, I'm joking.
That's a running joke.
I didn't want to say anything, but you came across as the sort.
My saying for 2020, this is a joke for any female listeners. My saying was...
No, you haven't got any female listeners.
My saying was,
true.
hate women, love the 1975, who are my favourite band. And
I like their first album.
Thank you. I don't know why I'm taking credit for that. It was all me.
That's how I feel about my favourite bands. Thank you very much.
We're doing that thing again where we bring it back round.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. But I narrowed mine down to Sarah Connor from Terminator 2.
That's a good female lead.
I think she's awesome.
It's a brilliant one.
Yeah.
Especially because
but it's not great.
Well, it's kind of tempered by the fact that the disgust you've shown for women, James. But that's a female hero. In a time, a male villain, common female hero, when she should have been. The idea is that women are the scream queens running away, and she wasn't. She was
standing up, using a shotgun, trying to wipe out.
Yeah. She's the hero.
A close one. The one I was kind of edging towards, if I didn't go for her, would have been from The Mandalorian, whose character I couldn't tell you her name, Matt.
There are a couple of great female characters in The Mandalorian, aren't there?
The one who she's like the boss on a planet.
On Wagyu Bagu or something.
Yeah, that one. But I was saying to Matt,
the one who's played by a lady who used to be in mixed martial arts or something like that, very muscular lady.
Yeah.
Not quite famous?
Yeah, she's been in a few films.
Ronda Rousey.
No, not Ronda Rousey.
Unfortunately not.
It's another one.
But yeah, I mean, I think the cast on The Mandalorian was awesome from a female perspective. Have you watched this?
Episodes and got bored.
Really?
I'll back to it. If this is lockdown 4, I'll watch it.
To be fair, I got bored in the first series, and then I ended up coming back to it after everyone was raving about the second.
The second episode, the second series is better.
Yeah,
I think it was that was one of those series that was an absolute ode to Star Wars fans. Being a big Star Wars fan, watching that every episode was oh wow, that's
that noise
so
again.
Cool.
I love Star Wars, but I don't love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My kids love Star Wars. I've let them watch Star Wars. They love it, but I'm not one of the people that could be like, no, the flogger doesn't come from planet.
See, I'm the same. I'm clueless with all the kind of backstory.
I love it, but I mean, I have a personal distance.
Yeah.
And The Mandalorian was almost coming on too strong.
Yeah.
It's asking too much of me.
Yeah.
But the Marvel films don't.
That's it.
You don't know the guy in the red suit?
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about it.
He's just going to kill some people in a minute.
Oh, you're going to get it. We're going to give you backstory. We're going to do all of that. You won't even know it's happened.
Yeah.
My favourite female character is Sweet D. Reynolds.
From?
God damn it, this is going to make this hard. Because if you knew who Sweet D. Reynolds was, you'd be like, oh my God, Sweet D. Reynolds.
Unfortunately not.
Sitcom. It's one of the longest running sitcoms now of all time. Called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I love it. But see, that's annoying because, I mean, I haven't watched it for a very long time. And I'll probably... Which one is she then?
She's the girl one. It's very boy heavy.
It is very good. So what, the one who's in the bar?
Yeah, the girl, blonde girl.
I see. I don't remember their names. I couldn't tell you any of their names actually. But I love the show. But I love from the series that I watched.
She's amazing because she gets picked on. She's firstly, Caitlin Olsen, who plays her, is incredible. Like her timing, the way she does stuff is amazing. Like she's a brilliant comic actor. The way it's written, like she gets bullied so much, and she's such a dreadful person in it. They're all dreadful. They're all dreadful people, and they all deserve everything that's coming to them. But like any great sitcom character, for some reason, you're weirdly rooting for them at different times. She's incredible. I mean, the character is hilarious. If there's one scene I would recommend, firstly, watch it. It's on Netflix. Everyone has got it. Everything is on Netflix. All of the series are on Netflix. The first series doesn't have Danny DeVito in it.
Yeah.
But literally, like Dara O'Brien, they said, if you want to continue to make this show, you need to get someone famous in it. And FX, the channel who makes It's Always Sunny, said, what about Danny DeVito? And the guys that make it...
He's brilliant in it.
They were like, Danny DeVito... So they went and had a meeting with Danny DeVito, and Danny DeVito was like, this sounds good.
Yeah.
So Danny DeVito is in it, this show that is so low budget, apart from what they get paid.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito is the best thing. He's incredible at it.
You should watch that, Matt, to be fair. You would like
to. I know the name, but I've never seen it.
I would say, so you don't kind of lose your way with it, maybe start with series 2.
Yeah.
Then once you've done them all, and you've watched them all again, because you will, then watch series 1. Because I don't want you to fall out of love with it before you even start. But Caitlin Olsen, who plays Sweet D. Reynolds, she's a genius. There's an episode where her and her brother get addicted to crack. And they always call her Bird because she looks like a bird. But she doesn't, but she looks like a bird because she's tall. And they always pick on her like, Bird! And then she's all addicted to crack and she hasn't eaten for ages. She's like, I'm so sick of you guys calling me a bird. And because she hasn't eaten for ages, she starts eating this burrito or something.
I remember that
like a bird. And the way she does it is so funny. She's brilliant. She's
It's
amazing.
great.
Wonderful.
Good shout. It's a good shout. Matt?
So unfortunately, being a Star Wars fan, I completely glossed over Star Wars and didn't think of any of the strong female leads in Star Wars, which is surprising because there's loads.
Say Princess Leia.
Princess Leia. that'll do.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so obvious. No, I wasn't. Yeah, what I was going to say is that a bit of a random one is a program called an animated series called Gravity Falls, which is probably one of my favourite things ever that I've seen, and it's one of the few things that I've probably seen about 3 times on the way through. And it's about a boy and a girl who go and stay with their crazy Uncle Stan, who runs this weird sort of trinket shop in the middle of sort of the northwest of America, and it's all about sort of yetis and gnomes and folklore and those sort of things, and they discover these things as they go around.
It's a film.
No, it's a TV series. It was on Disney.
Annoying when you want to get it right.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
You're like, oh yeah, it's got Samuel Jackson in it. Like,
No.
Yeah.
He has been in a
I know
lot,
the one
but
you're
it's
talking
not
about. No Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah.
But there's a character, the two characters, the brother and the sister Mabel, just has this infectious sort of outlook on life that is so pure. It is completely innocent, and she just dives in to everything with this absolute enthusiasm. Even when people are picking on her, even when everything's going against her, she's just looking at the world in this completely lovely sort of way of, yeah, it'll be okay, it'll work out, and it's amazing. And I think I would pick her as my favourite lead. Yeah, just because of that. She's wonderful. And there's even a bit where I can't remember why they have to do it. They have to, for some reason, they have to get the tears of a unicorn, I think it is, to create this thing. And they go to see this unicorn, and this unicorn is absolutely obnoxious and says to May, because she says, I must see someone pure of heart. I can't do it unless it's someone pure of heart. And May's like, well, that's me. I'm the purest person in the world. And just to be sort of mean, the unicorn says, I know what you've done. I know you're not pure of heart. And Mabel just tortures herself throughout the whole episode, like doubling down on these nice things that she does.
Does she go on a killing spree?
No, she doesn't. She's
no, because
she's pure of heart.
That's what the male character does.
That's it.
Presses it, turns it into a ball of hatred,
That's it.
shoots up a skull.
Yeah, buries it deep inside.
Well, there's the answer to that.
I think that brings us to the end, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Sam. Really appreciate it. We've had a laugh. We've had a beer.
We've had a laugh. We've had a beer.
Thanks for enjoying my first beer of February.
Yeah,
nice. You're welcome.
It's been great. So thank you.
It was lovely meeting you boys. It really was. Thank you for having me on.
I was going to say, where
don't
can
stop yet.
don't stop. Yeah, where can people find you online on the socials?
Well, I'm currently homeschooling.
Yep.
And have no career apart from being in a Santander advert ages ago. So it appears like I'm doing stuff, maybe. So if you want to catch me being depressed online, at Sam Pamphilon on Instagram and Twitter.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. Don't forget, if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe on whatever platform you're watching and listening on, because then that way you won't miss out on any future episodes we put out.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms as well. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and give us a follow, and you'll be able to keep up to date with all of the latest episodes and posts that we put out there. But thank you for listening and watching.
And we'll see you next